Hello students, and welcome to Bio 100. I'm really excited that you're in my class. The purpose of this video is less for introductions, we'll do that in class, but more for I want to go through all the nitty-gritty of the course. This is the boring part and I don't want to spend class time doing this. So I'll try to be as fast as possible. You're only going to see my face right here, and then I'm going to go ahead and splice it together with just showing you this stuff. So we'll see you in class, but watch the rest of this video. Okay, first things first, I'd like you to explore. If you just have a minute, this will only take a minute. What I'd like you to do is go get a mirror, or it can be like from a compact or whatever, and I want you to, while only looking in the mirror, so you cannot look down, it helps to sort of put it up by your forehead, only looking in the mirror, I want you to draw the shapes you see on the screen and write your name, and this is important, so that it appears correctly in the mirror. Okay, so I want you to just pause for just a second and try to do that right now. Okay, so hopefully you had a chance to do that, and hopefully you saw that it was really hard. Now maybe some of you are really great, and that means you're going to make an awesome dentist or something. But for most of us, this is a really hard task, and I want you to think about why. Why is this so difficult to do? And I wish I could hear your responses, but you're probably thinking, well, I've got muscle memory. I've always learned it the other way, and in the mirror it was sort of backwards. And so it made it really hard. Did you ever find yourself sort of frustrated, wanting to yell at your hand? What's wrong with you? Why can't you do this? It's really hard for your brain to relearn something that you've learned a different way before. So my question is, had I shown you a PowerPoint ahead of time that said this, that vertical positions are opposite, so moving the pencil up and down is opposite, however horizontal positions are consistent, so moving the pencil right and left, so to write your name, it's going to be vertically inverted, but the letters will be in the same order. Do you think that would have helped you do it? I mean, if you don't believe me, you could pause right here and try it. I'll bet you it doesn't help. I'll bet you still that the first move you make will be wrong. And so it makes me wonder, is PowerPoint even effective? Well, it can be if it's used correctly. But the point is, you're not a blank slate. You're not an empty bucket into which I can pour information. You have to be able to learn through experience. And this is a little bit technical, don't memorize this or anything, but this is called equilibration theory, and it's a learning theory. And there's two parts to it. There's assimilation, which is just incorporating new information that you've never seen before. So when you first learn to write, it's hard, but it's not as hard as accommodation. Accommodation is when you already have something in your brain and you have to replace it with something new. And this requires cognitive conflict. You have to see that, oh gosh, what I was thinking or what I was doing is not quite right, and I'm going to try something new, and the process is really difficult. So the question is, how many of you think that you might have some preconceptions about biology, that you might know something or think you know something about biology? Hopefully all of you are thinking, of course, because hopefully all of you have been outside and seen a tree or something else. And we all live with ourselves and we're very much biological. So we have all kinds of ideas, and some of them are right, but some of them are very wrong, and we're going to have to do accommodation. And so the reason I tell you all of this is it will explain why I teach the course the way that I do. Okay, a couple other things I want to show you before we get into that is this. So you can take a minute and try to read that. It says that you're unique if you can read that, but actually it's not true. Most people can read that. And isn't that crazy that you can read that? And then we're going to watch this little video here. This is my son, who's now on a mission. He'd be mortified if he knew I was showing you this video. Oh, I have to preface this. We were reading the Good Samaritan in the scriptures, and I asked him to paraphrase it. And then I was like, oh my goodness, let me get my camera. And I had him paraphrase it again. Okay, so listen.
3 guys wouldn't help him, and when one came, he took the man and put him in his truck and started driving away. And then he woke up in a bed. He was nice and warm, and he had a couple bruises and cuts, and he felt really bad, but he was glad that the man helped him.
Okay, so isn't he cute? What did you notice? Did anybody catch the truck in ancient Israel? Isn't that funny? Why would he put a truck into that story? Well, it turns out that your brains are very, very adept at filling in gaps in your understanding. And sometimes we fill in gaps with total garbage. And that's because we are very uncomfortable with cognitive gaps, cognitive inconsistency. And so our brains will very quickly fill that in. And think about it, back in, like caveman days, if you were wondering, gosh, is that a lion or not? Wasn't it great that your brain just sort of filled in, yep, that's a lion, run? That's kind of where we're programmed to do that. And so as a consequence, while you are learning, if you miss something in class or you didn't quite catch it the first time, and then you're studying later, you may just fill in that hole with garbage, with preconceptions that aren't correct. And so the easiest way to prevent that is, number one, to say things out loud. I know that sounds crazy, but it is so important. Even if you're only talking to the wall, it's really important to say things out loud, because your brain is much more likely to catch where there are gaps in your understanding when you're speaking out loud. When you're just doing it in your head, your brain will gloss right over those gaps. But even more importantly, if you can say it to somebody else, especially somebody else who can correct you, so either a TA or somebody who's been in the class with you, a classmate, that will help you fill in those gaps with correct information. And then the last thing I'll offer you, for studying at least, is to watch my How to Study video that's posted on Canvas. And that'll help you. There's also a study module if you're interested. It's also on Canvas. It's optional. That'll just help you walk through being metacognitive about how you study. Okay, so let's go through course structure. Required supplies. There is a student packet. It is available in the bookstore for purchase hard copy or electronically as a PDF on Canvas. You do not need to turn it in, so you don't need a hard copy, but you do need to have it available for you every single class period. And so you'll need to be able to follow it. I might say, do questions 1 and 2 on page 7, and you need to be able to access that. So if you're technologically advanced, you can do it electronically. If you prefer hard copy, like I said, you can purchase it in the bookstore for about the cost of printing, or you can print it yourself. You do need a smart device to take quizzes. At the beginning of every class, we will take a quiz that's accessed online. So you need to be able to access it online. If that is an issue for you, please come talk to me and we can see what we can do. And then I strongly recommend you bring a pencil and scratch paper. Biology, there's a lot of drawing. So even though you might be taking notes electronically on your packet, you may, by chance, occasionally want to draw something on a piece of paper. So please bring paper. Okay, so the next thing is the textbook. I recommend the textbook, but it is not required. It's Campbell Essential Biology, 7th edition. You can get an e-text version for a discount. You can also get 10% off that discount with the promo code WELCOMEBACK10. There is a link on Canvas for you to purchase that, and I'll show you where in a second. There's also a notes guide that's a packet available to help you take notes while you're doing your at-home work, and I'll show you that when we get to Canvas as well. So the structure of the course. So I use the 5E learning cycle. So if you see there on the right, it is a constructivist-based teaching strategy that is best for your learning. So the first step is engage. I'll get you excited about the activity. Then explore, where you build on your own understanding, like the mirrors activity, where I have you do some kind of activity where you learn. And then we explain and introduce terms and clarify content. And then the next step is to elaborate. It turns out that we found from research that if students don't use the material in other situations, it becomes contextually dependent. So we're going to do an elaborate activity where we apply the content to some novel situations and make sure you really understand it, and then evaluate is testing. So in a traditional classroom that you might be most used to, you might come to class and learn the content, and then you go home and do some kind of homework assignment where you apply it. There's a new version called a flipped approach, where you actually learn the content before class independently, and then in class we do concept application. So I've actually chosen to do the flipped approach for this class, which means you will do engage, explore, and explain at home, and then we will continue to do explain and then elaborate and evaluate in class. So what does that actually look like? So before you come to class, you're going to get on Canvas and you're going to do an activity, and it's going to be very exploratory. You're going to feel sometimes like, I don't know the answer, and that's okay. I'm not expecting you to know the answer. I'm just expecting you to explore, to think about it, to put your thoughts down. There are places for you to fill in answers. TAs will grade them for effort Are you really paying attention and following along on the activity? But don't feel like if you're thinking, oh, this is still really unclear, I'm not sure I know, that is totally normal. There will be terms introduced in that activity as you explore, so you want to make sure to get those down. You might also visit the textbook to get a little bit of clarification. The activities are designed to take 1 hour. So 1 hour before you come to class, sometime between one class and the next, you need to spend an hour doing this activity. And then once you get into class, the very first thing you're going to do is jump on Canvas and take a little quiz. It's short, it's 4 questions. It's just designed to see if you got the very basic content from the pre-class activity. You get 2 attempts. The first attempt, we encourage you to take it just by yourself with no notes or anything. Just see how much you gained from the pre-class activity. Then the second attempt is open book, open note, open neighbor, open TA, open instructor, open everything. You should be able to get 100% on the second attempt. Once we do that, that is during the first 5 minutes of class. So if you are late, we will not be doing that, so you'll miss it. Once we finish that, we'll have a brief overview of what you should have learned. I'm not going to reteach it or re-lecture it. So if you don't do the pre-class assignment, you're going to be super lost in class because we're going to jump right into elaborate. So I'm going to say, all right, using what you learned in the pre-class, let's do numbers 1 and 2, go. And you're going to work with the people around you. So make sure you sit next to people that you would like to work with. And don't feel shy about moving around. If you have one class period and you're like, oh, I just don't really get along with these people, or they're not really engaged, I want to sit somewhere else, by all means, sit somewhere else. And then go see a TA if you need help after class. We will help you out. So you'll do that for each class period, the pre-class activities, the in-class activities, the pre-class activities, the in-class activities. So Monday, Wednesday, Friday, etc., until the end of a unit. At the end of a unit, we will have a review day. So that is one day we will take in class where we will review the learning outcomes. It's pretty much an open class where there's not really a scheduled activity and there's no quiz, right? So it's really voluntary, but I strongly recommend that you come that day. We'll put the learning outcomes up and you stay as long as you like, as long as you need, as long as you feel it is helpful to review with us on the learning outcomes. And then you'll review the how to study video, the studies module, and then you're going to go take the exam. It is online, so it will open on a Friday and it will close on a Tuesday. It's open book, open note. So anything you wrote down, anything in the Canvas course, you may use. It is not, however, open people, so you cannot consult a neighbor or a TA or an instructor or a friend, and it is not open internet. I don't want you to be spending time searching things up on the internet. It should all be in your notes or in the Canvas course itself. The exams are tightly tied to the learning outcomes, so it should not be a problem. You should be able to find everything that's necessary in the materials I've provided for you. Then once you take the exam, let's say you get an 87%. Well, starting after exam 1, all of my TAs will be holding a 1-hour exam review session every week. If you attend one of those before the next exam, you automatically get 5% back on the exam. So that makes it a 92, woohoo. Okay, so I strongly encourage you to go do the exam reviews, and I'll show you where to find those and when they happen online. So as far as the breakdown of the class, we do have a few research surveys that'll be worth 5% of your grade. The pre-class assignments are worth 25% of your grade, and then the in-class quizzes are an additional 15%. And so a little less than half of the class, 45%, is on participation only. You come, you show up, you do your stuff. The exams, there are 5 of them online, and then a final exam in the testing center, and that makes up 55% of your grade. I also have a life happens cushion. What that means is that I understand life happens. Sometimes things come up and you can't do what you were committed to do. You don't need to tell me, you don't need to talk to me about it. Canvas will automatically drop 1 of your research surveys, 5 of your pre-class activities, 5 of your in-class quizzes, and 1 of your exams. It will drop the lowest one. You do not have to specify which one. If you missed it and it's a 0, that is your lowest one, and it will drop it. So unless you have extremely extenuating circumstances or you have an accommodations letter. If you miss something, just chalk it up to one of your life happens and let it drop. Okay, so let's go ahead and visit Canvas and I'll show you what the class looks like. To get to Canvas, you need to go to byu.instructure.com. If you go to Learning Suite, I've put a link there to hook you to Canvas. Once you get there, your classes will pop up like this, although they'll say published. And so we're going into our class. You just simply click on the class and this will take you into our class. So this is what it looks like. This is the instructor view. Let me go to student view just so you see it the same way that you're going to see it. All right, so everything should be here on the home page. In the first module, we have everything you need to succeed. These are the learning outcomes for the class. I strongly recommend that you download and print these out and you use them regularly. For every day of class, there is a set of things you should be able to do by the end of class. So for, let's say, day 7, you need to be able to distinguish between a monophyletic and paraphyletic grouping, read and interpret a phylogenetic tree, use data to build a phylogenetic tree, construct a character matrix. So what would an exam question look like for construct a character matrix? I would give you some organisms and say, please construct a character matrix, except it's multiple choice. So which character matrix matches what we see here? Okay, so they're very much aligned. These are the learning outcomes all the way from the first day to the very last day of class. I strongly recommend that you follow this. Always just click home to get back. The little breadcrumbs at the top can be very confusing. The student packet, there it is. So like I said, you need this every single day. You can purchase a hard copy at the bookstore for the price of printing, or you can print it yourself, or you can use it digitally. This is my information. It tells you when my office hours are, where to find me, etc. This is probably your most important link here besides the learning outcomes. These are your TAs, and so they're still working on getting their information in. But the weekly TA sessions are going to take you to this spreadsheet. This spreadsheet is updated and kept current by the TAs. So you can see we have a ton of TAs between the 3 classes that I teach. They're all taught the same. All the TAs are all of your TAs. Even though they may not be in class, they are your TAs. The green ones are their open office hours. So just about any time of day, every day of the week, we have availability. They will put in their locations here soon. Some of them will do them on Zoom. That's where you just get help. The blue are your post-exam extra credit sessions that I talked about. Those will start happening after exam 1. And then the orange are weekly reviews. So every single one of my TAs will hold a scheduled weekly review where they just review the learning outcomes for that week. I would strongly encourage you to find a weekly review that fits into your schedule and just commit to be there for that 1 hour every week, and just make sure you're staying on top of the learning outcomes. Okay, so going back to our class, that's the TAs. Going back home. The exam schedule. So this is the schedule for our exams. The exams, like I said, are all online except for the final exam, and this is when they take place. Oh my gosh, I can't spell. One line. So this is when they open. This is when they close. They open at 12:01 a.m. They close at 11:59 p.m. If you miss them, they will be your 1 drop. Okay, but get them on your calendar. And then the final is in the testing center, the full week of finals. And it is not open book, open notes. I allow you to take 1 page of notes in with you. And it is comprehensive. So that's the exams. The syllabus is right here. I encourage you to read through the syllabus. It will just describe this class exactly as I've been describing it here. I'm not going to take the time to do that because you can all read. So I'm going to let you read through the syllabus. The student reading schedule. So if you choose to access the textbook, this will give you an idea of what you should read in the textbook for each of the days that we cover. And you'll notice that the textbook kind of goes in reverse. We start towards the middle end of the textbook and we make our way to the beginning. And there's a lot of reasons for that. If you want to know, you can ask me. FAQs, this is just a list of if you ever have questions about like procedures in the class and all of that kind of thing. I've been making this over the years just based on student emails. It can be cheeky sometimes, but if you might check here before you email me if you've got basic questions. Here's to purchase the e-text. It will take you to the link, and if you put in the welcome back 10, you'll get an extra 10% off. And then this is a little video that I made that shows you the cool features in the e-text. You can actually take notes and highlight things and it will like collate your notes for you. There's all kinds of really cool features in the textbook that you might want to take a look at. So that's the course information. The critical help for students, this is that how to study video that I talked about and the study strategies module. Totally voluntary, but if you want to know my opinions about how best to study, there it is. This is where my PowerPoints, if I ever do use a PowerPoint, I don't use a ton, but if I do, they'll be posted here. And then I have my TAs take pictures of everything I write on the board every class period, and they will post them here. This will take you to a Google Drive folder. So if you ever miss class, you can go to these two spots and download the stuff that we covered. So that's critical help for students. These are the pre-class assignments, right? So I had said there was a packet to help guide your notes. Here it is. It's a PDF that you can download. It just helps you like have a place to write notes, what I think are important from the class. Okay, the next thing on here is this required pre-survey. So this is the Lawson Classroom Test of Scientific Reasoning. And it is an IQ, so to speak, a science IQ test. And I think it is incredibly important for you to see where you are as far as this class goes. And if you click on this link, you can read about why I have you take this. It tends to be the #1 predictor of your performance in the class. And there is a way to improve those skills right at the beginning of the semester with this Access This Best app. Okay, so you can read about it here. Take this regardless. Don't study or look anything up. Just take it so I know where you are. And if you want to access the Best app, it's here. Here are all the pre-class assignments. So this is the course overview we've been talking about. Just go in there and complete it and make sure you understand what you saw in this video. This is what I would expect you to have done by the time you come to class on Monday. If you don't, no big deal. You can still do it afterwards. But each day before you come to class, you're going to do one of these activities. On the days where we do a review for the exam, there isn't one. Okay, but every day of the semester, they are all available here. This is the thing I was talking about that takes you about 1 hour to do. Okay, that's the pre-class assignments. When you come into class, and we're going to start right on day 2 doing this, when you come into class, the first thing you're going to do, sit down by your neighbors, open up your phone or your laptop, come here, click on the quiz. It'll take you to this 4-question quiz. You get 2 attempts. It's locked right now, but you'll start it. You do 1 attempt, then you talk to everyone around you, you do a 2nd attempt, and then we'll get started with class. Okay, so the first 5 minutes of class, this is what I want you to do. That's your in-class quizzes. And then the last things here, these are the exams. I'm still working on getting them all in there. The first 2 are in there. They will open on the day of the exam. You'll go in here. Once you push start, you've got 3 hours to complete it before it will close. Okay, so anyway, and we can talk more about those as we get closer. So that is the class. You can see that everything is here for you. I can't think of anything else that you need to know. Thank you for watching the video. I'm so excited to meet all of you. I cannot wait for this class. I love Bio 100. I love teaching you students. So I will see you all Monday.